Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the 10-Minute Book Talk, where three best-selling authors talk all things bookish with you for 10 short and sweet minutes every week. I am your host today, Marie Bostwick, and I am here with my friends, Rachel Linden, looking ever so cute in purple, and Katherine Reay, looking, green is a good color on Katherine. I was just saying, it's such a good color. And we are also here with our dear friend and repeat offender on the 10-Minute Book Talk, Eliza Knight. She has written a delightful new book called The Queen's Faithful Companion. It has a corgi on it. Okay, this came into my mail and I was like, she had me at corgi. All right, so dog lovers, this is your book. But Eliza, welcome to the 10-Minute Book Talk. We're so glad you could make time to be with us again. Tell us a little bit about your new book, which is hot off the presses.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I'm glad to be back, a repeat offender, as you say. It's exciting to chat with you all about my new book. I'm very, very happy about it. So The Queen's Faithful Companion is the story of Queen Elizabeth's relationship with her corgi, Susan. And Susan is really special for two reasons. One is that she was gifted to the Queen on her 18th birthday by her father, and everybody knows how close she was with her father. So that was just a very special gift for her. And it was her own first dog that was just hers. All the other dogs were family dogs. So Susan was hers alone. And that was very special. And then the other really awesome thing about Susan is that she ended up being the matriarch of 14 generations of the Windsor corgis that the Queen bred throughout her lifetime. So she's got this great legacy. And I really wanted to dive into the Queen's relationship with her dog, and I got to do that in this book, as well as a third character whose name is Hanna, and she is based off of a real-life keeper of the Queen's corgis.
Oh my goodness. What a job. I love it. Well, who is not going to love this book? Royals and corgis. What is not to love? So how in the world did you decide to write this particular book with the corgi angle?
So I had been thinking a lot about what my next book project was going to be. And I was walking on my treadmill and my dogs were sitting around beside me and I was having a conversation with them. And as one does.
As one does.
I do all the time.
Right. And then, later on, going through some YouTube videos, and I came across this really hilarious video, and I highly recommend you all look for it. It's the Queen with her corgis and James Bond, Daniel Craig, aka. And he's helicopters into Buckingham Palace, and she's there with her corgis and they're walking down the hallway. And it is so funny. And just everyone loves the corgis, and having been to London, the corgis were corgi paraphernalia everywhere. So I thought, well, maybe I should do something along those lines. What's so special about the corgis? And digging into the past, I found what I had mentioned earlier about her being gifted Susan on her 18th birthday, and how Susan lived this amazing life with her. She snuck her on her honeymoon. The dog was very important to her. And the title actually comes from the gravestone of Susan, which talks about her being the most faithful companion. So I just really wanted to share that story. And obviously, I felt to be important, it would be important to share Susan's point of view, because she is such a huge part of the story. And
which nicely tees me up for my next question. Well done. You can tell, guys, Eliza's a pro. Okay, this is not her first time at the rodeo. But I do want to say, in addition to Susan, obviously we're getting an inside glimpse of Elizabeth, especially in her early years, and her courtship and marriage to Prince Philip. And so that's really cool. We've got Hannah's story in there too. But the thing, and that's all wonderful stuff, but really the hallmark of what makes this book so intriguing is the fact that Susan gets to talk. And I just love this. So, but I'm really curious. I mean, yes, we all talk to our dogs. I do too. Writing it, I don't know. Eliza, how did you get into the mindset to be able to write from a dog's point of view?
So that actually took a lot of work. And because I am such a research nerd anyway, I just dove right into all the research. I watched different documentaries about dogs' behavior, what dog language is read books about it as well, trying to get into like the different behaviors and thought process of an animal. And then just like their different quirks and things like that. So, and a lot of Susan's personality comes from my own dogs, or at least what I think their personalities might be and what they might feel in any situation. So there was a lot of hands-on sort of research with my own pets, but then also actually diving into like what people have done with studies. For example, one thing I learned, and I had never noticed this before with any of my dogs, is that if your dog wants you to pay attention to something or they want something, they'll make eye contact with you, then look at whatever the object is, and then look back at you. And I started noticing my dogs were doing that. Like they would look at me, look at the leash, look back, and the leash is like across the room. And I'm like, okay, are we trying to go for a walk? Or my other dog will look at me, look at the counter where the treats are, then look back at me.
I feel like
my
that's a
goodness.
recurring theme with
I'm gonna have
dogs.
to pay attention to this now.
Yeah. And then also I had noticed, one of the things I learned was that dogs will have like certain reactions to certain people. So like if they see someone, they might like sneeze every time they see this person, which is actually pretty hilarious, or like make a certain facial expression, which I never really, like, I feel like my dogs make facial expressions, but I just thought like, oh, they're just doing different weird things with their face, but they actually do make facial expressions. So it was just really cool. And getting into her mindset was a lot like getting down to a dog's level, seeing like what would they notice. You know, for example, if she's on the phone, they're not going to call it a phone. They don't know what a phone is. They're like, what is that voice coming through the black thing she's holding? And the thing I really wanted to come across through Susan was mostly like her vision of what the queen was. She wasn't just a queen to her, like she was her person, her best friend. And I really wanted it to be sort of like a love story between a dog and their best friend. So that was really just getting into the heart of Susan's thoughts and her love and all of that.
Sweet.
Okay, so you've kind of teed up my question and you kind of answered it, because I really did want to know. Your research is always so impeccable. And you've told us a bit about the dog, but quite frankly, I thought you gave us such a wonderful, intimate portrait of Elizabeth's world and Hanna too. So how did you, what did that research look like?
So I'll start with Hanna because she was a little bit easier than the queen. I watched a lot of different interviews and read some different articles and books and things of different servants of the royal family. And Hanna's character is based off of a couple different people who actually were keepers of the queen's corgis. And so it was just kind of like sifting through their jobs and their past and what it entailed, you know, keeping care of the corgis when they were breeding. They were in charge of all of that. They were in charge of the transportation, the feeding and care of the corgis. They had their own footman. They had their own chef. They had their own bedroom. They were actually members of the royal family.
Not tell my dogs any of this.
Yeah,
They're
no.
going to feel that their lives are not so cool.
No, they would, my dogs too. They're like, wait, we get our own room? What?
Your
Where are my footmen? And the footmen are actually hilariously named Doggy 1 and Doggy 2. So that was real. I put that in the book. That's what their real names were, or their title anyway. So yeah, there was a lot of like research like that just about the real people, and then it's fiction too. So I made up a fake person. The real keeper of the queen corgis, the first time around was a husband and wife, and the second time around was also a husband and wife. So Hanna is not obviously a husband and wife. She's just a young girl who happened to grow up with Elizabeth. And I wanted to kind of show what it was like knowing Elizabeth as a person and as a princess, and then growing into a queen and a mother and all of that. So we get the viewpoint of the dog and the servant seeing Elizabeth go through these various parts of her life. So, and then with Elizabeth, that was the hard part, right? So obviously tons of biographies, interviews. I got this one really great book that was full of different quotes from people who had known her throughout her life and shared like special moments. That was really cool. And then documentaries and all of that sort of thing. And then there's fiction in there too, obviously. But mostly I wanted to give like, I think the thing that was most important to me was showing the different trajectory positions of her life. So she goes from being a young princess who doesn't know that she's going to end up being a queen to being a young woman who wants to find love, wants to serve in the military, but there's all these stipulations behind it because she is probably going to be queen. And then married life, and then suddenly becoming a queen when she thought she had years left to kind of just be a wife and mother and sort of live away from the limelight, to just all this responsibility. So I find it really interesting that Susan's lifespan covers all of those different parts of her life, these big major changing life points. And I think that was also perfect timing for the setting of the book as well.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well,
Well,
it
it's
is
brilliantly
really,
done.
it's a charming and such an interesting book, and I really enjoyed it, The Queen's Faithful Companion. Before we go, my dear, we're going to ask you the same question we ask authors every time, because we need more positivity in the world. Eliza Knight, what is bringing you joy today?
So the thing that is making me very excited today is, for one, sunshine. I'm here in my new office and I love it and I can't wait to be here permanently. But on a more like basic level, we just got a washer and dryer, which we did not have here. So I finally can like wash clothes. We've
a
been
big
traveling
deal.
back and forth, and I've been bringing all my dirty clothes back to our other house before we make the permanent move.
Oh
So I'm
gosh.
excited to do laundry, which is very lame, but is making me
No.
very happy.
No,
No
because you
author
know
has-
what? If you
no
can't
author's
do
ever said that.
laundry, it's a big deal. So
It's a big deal.
congratulations on that, and on the sunshine. My friend, and congratulations on your new book. My friends,
you.
go, if you're a dog lover, if you're a royal lover, if you just like an uplifting story, go and look for The Queen's Faithful Companion by Eliza Knight. It's out now, and I know you're going to enjoy it. And the other thing you should do, I bet you know, you should be back here next week to join us on the 10-Minute Book Talk. We'll see you then.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye, guys.